Please state your name for the record.
Thank you. My name is Lee Spiller, and I'm with the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, Texas, and I'm not going to read you a 4-page testimony. First, I want to thank Senator Colcourse for mentioning not wanting to load kids up on a raft of psychotropic drugs. I would remind all of y'all, in fact, I was reading, I think it was last night or the night before, about mental health or mental illness may not correlate to violence, substance abuse does. And I would remind you that whether we call them mind-altering, psychoactive, or psychotropic, legal, illegal, prescribed, non-prescribed, these drugs affect mood, cognition, and behavior. Right? We need a mandatory toxicology report for all mass violence and suicide, and it needs to be public-facing so that the public can make good decisions. I think you, Senator Perry, yesterday mentioned the need for outcomes data. We need that. And I'll give you an example. We have funded suicide prevention again and again and again, and yet the suicide rates have gone up. And it's particularly concerning in view of the fact that very few of these programs, if any, are well studied for adverse effects. We need to know. We need to know whether these programs and whether this perception that it's the mentally ill that are doing these crimes is causing more kids to be hauled off to psych hospitals. We need ramped up parental rights in school mental health programs. In Senate Bill 11, we were promised that nothing would be done without parental consent. Unfortunately, that's what we're seeing right now. Multiple school districts, screenings. And thank you all very much. I'm out of time.
Mr. Chairman. Right, Senator Colcourse and then Senator Perry.
Lee, in Senate Bill 11, which I refer to as Senate Bill 10, it clearly, and Dr. Lakey stated it today, and so did the lady presenting with him, her name escapes me right now, but it was clear that parental consent was necessary. So, you know, if that's not happening, that would be Dr. Williams was with Dr. Lakey. If that's not happening, then, you know, we need to know about that. But
yes, that was in regard to TCHAT, and one thing I will say about TCHAT, their policies are very clear on that. Parental consent's required.
So then what do you refer to?
Screening programs, surveys, and assessments. In 2020, the fall of 2020, Austin Independent School District announced their intention to interview every one of the district's 80,000 students to check on their mental health. When we asked about informed consent, they said they didn't need it. Louisville ISD incorporated an emoji-based emotional assessment. We asked for the informed consent on that. They sent us the parents' consent for the child to access the district's IT systems. So when we reiterated and said, hey, this doesn't seem to be specific to a screening, can you please give us the consent for the screening? They said that because the tech team had approved the app and because leadership was okay with it, they felt like this general thing was enough. TEA's mental health, school mental health, our school mental health TX website has a toolkit for universal mental health screening, and in that, and this one is from out of state, it didn't come from here, but the authors of this toolkit actually state that if the teacher is the respondent, parental consent is not needed.
If the what?
If the teacher is the respondent to the screening. In other words, if you have teachers answering questions about kids' behavior, parental consent is not needed. I'll be glad, you know, we've gotten other allegations from other parents. The other thing that we're doing is opt-out consent. And what that means is if the parent misses the notice, didn't get the email, then their kids, you know, the onus is on the parent. It shouldn't be that way. It should be opt-in.
Okay, Senator Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lee, it's always good to hear from you, whether we agree or disagree, but we're more aligned on most things. Last session in education, I remember clearly, as well-intended as it was meant to be, an age-inappropriate conversation regarding suicide, what that looks like at, I think it was as early as first grade kind of deal.
Yes, elementary school, yes, sir.
Yes. So you and I both saw that that was not appropriate conversation because it interjects thoughts that from a maturity level, those kids shouldn't have been dealing with it. So we killed that. So here's what I want from you is those districts that you know specifically are in violation of parental consent. Those are our violations of intent and statute that we put in place or did not put in place. If they're doing that, we will find out what remedy from a financial perspective we have. If not, there will be remedies put into it because it's unacceptable. Now I'm going to switch hats.
Yes, sir.
There's nothing more sacred than individual liberty. I do agree with your assessment that we drug kids before we ask kids what's going on. But here's the challenge, and you've heard this committee for 2 days now. We are scrambling to respond to kids that have risk factors that have been scientifically proven that they are great indicators to project out that without intervention, there's going to be a catastrophic event, possibly. Possibly. So, and it may be this answer. I'm going to give you the answer I think it is, and you tell me that's correct.
Okay.
When faced with giving up personal liberty or trying to forecast and protect public based on that, is it one of those situations we just have to live with the fact that we may not be able to tag? And I say tag in a very non-professional way. We have to monitor and intervene. But what give me some confidence that there is a way to do it that doesn't violate yours and mine and my constituents' concerns? Or is there not a way?
That's really the problem, and I think it's a Solomon-like decision here. What do we do, right?
Right.
We're splitting the baby.
Split the baby.
The thing is this, if we're doing it based on a profile, we can't take that chance. You know, and
Okay.
in the fall of 2019, there were several experts quoted in the Houston Chronicle stating that, guess what? We can't predict violence any more reliable or slightly more reliable than chance, right? We can't lock people up on slightly more reliable than chance. What has bothered me, you look at the case of Nicholas Cruz, Seth Ator, the Odessa shooter, the White Settlement Church shooter, and Devin Patrick Kelly, the Sutherland Springs shooter. These are all people that ping-ponged back and forth between law enforcement, criminal justice, and mental health. And my concern is that we divert people who are known to be violent, and we expect that the mental health system can fix it. That's not what the mental health system does.
Agreed.
So we burden that system, and we have this false sense of security. I mean, law enforcement had been to Nicholas Cruz's house like 21 times related to him or him and his brother. He had had, I want to say, over 50 disciplinary referrals in school. He had had hundreds of hours of therapy. He had had medication. In interrogation, he admitted that he was using Xanax recreationally, although he wasn't high the day of the event. That is a lot, and Xanax is one of those drugs that's associated with homicidal thoughts, right? Ironically, the week before the shooting, what was he searching? Homicidal thoughts and treatment for homicidal thoughts, right? We can't do things just in case, but we can certainly keep people from ping-ponging between those systems. If you're a criminal, you belong in the criminal justice system. It's made for that.